Carolyn used to like saying these people's names. Feffa, because she had the Boston accent. The Feffas. Dealt with them a lot.
Okay, 6:30. So call to order the meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission for Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. This is still a hybrid meeting where we allow people to dial in and also attend in person. So I see we have a couple of people on the phone. Welcome. If you do want to attend online, you can go to, please join, go to https://global.gotomeeting.com/join/920-763-469, and you can also dial in using your phone at 1-408-650-3123. The access code, if you dial in by phone, is 920-763-469.
You have to hit *6.
Hit *6 to speak.
Correct.
Okay. Good, thank you. So let us start. Fairly light agenda tonight, which is the first time in about 12 years. And we have one request for determination of applicability for 3 Cove Landing. Steve and Pamela Pfeffer, construction of a roof over an existing dock.
Good evening. Aldridge. And yes, roof over deck. Pfeffers would like a screened porch. They have an existing deck that's within 50 feet of a coastal bank. That coastal bank is bisected by Cove Landing Road and the landing itself. We're proposing to mitigate the roof runoff with a dry well. We have a siltation barrier for during construction. They have a little bit of a challenge with the sonotube and being close proximity to the septic tank. That just has to be placed to a level below the septic tank. But otherwise, fairly straightforward project, and they promise that there will be no interior living space there. It's a screened-in porch that they're looking for. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Amy, any comments?
Sure. So the coastal bank, just because of topography and the slope it has to achieve, is quite a way. Is a little bit ways in. It's across the Round Cove landing, if you will, and up on the property, which puts the proposed roofed deck within the 50-foot buffer of that. That being said, it's not an expansion of footprint. It's just one sonotube, Thad, that you're going to need to do?
3 sonotubes that they need to do.
Okay, so 3. It's an existing disturbed area. The deck is about how many feet off the ground now? Pretty tall.
Several, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, you can walk
under it.
underneath of it.
You can walk, so it's latticed.
It's about 8 feet off the ground.
Thad provided, which you should have. If you don't, I have extras. It is clearly just a roof over the deck. You can still see that exist out there today. I would recommend that you do put on the condition of the RDA that it's not to become habitable space, because that would be technically, in our mind, a new structure in the 50. Roof runoff should go into a dry well, yes. And our typical condition for no fertilizers, chemical application within our jurisdiction, which is the 100-foot buffer on this lot. So with that, I would recommend approval with a negative determination that the work would take place in the buffer zone to a resource area, but would not have an adverse impact to that area.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the commissioners? Mark?
I took a look at the site. To me, it looks like it's pretty straightforward, and I really don't see any adverse impact at all. That's all.
John?
Yeah, so I just have a couple questions. One is, You say it's gonna be a screened porch. I don't get how that works. I mean, you're not gonna put screens without additional columns or something, right?
No, you're right. They were talking about a screen porch, and I think they went with the open porch in the end. Sorry.
Oh, so they're not, so this is an accurate representation?
It
It's
is.
not going to be a screened porch.
Correct.
A screened porch would require additional structure, right?
It would.
If that should change, we should see it, okay?
Sure.
I'm just curious what goes in the, is there a ceiling at the height of the bottom of the gable end, if that's the right way to say it? Is there a ceiling in the screen porch, or is that open to?
I believe there would be a ceiling in there. Probably
Okay, well, those are my only questions. Thank you.
Stan?
No questions.
Brad?
Just a comment that I think I would like to see in the order, that wouldn't be an order, I guess.
It's
but,
in the determination, though. Yeah.
Determination, if we could just have very specific language that it could not become an inhabitable structure, and that it would not have walls or full walls. Just some language to make it clear that anything beyond what we're permitting would be a new structure.
How about not to be enclosed?
Yeah, I think that's good. With language that says
Yeah.
can a new structure in the zone.
I have no questions.
So, with respect to the, you mentioned it might be screened in?
They were talking about that at first, but I guess they went in the other direction, and I didn't keep up with the plans.
Okay, because
Sorry to mislead.
I mean, we've had prior where we've had this kind of a request for a patio in the other case that we had, and suddenly it became screened in, and then suddenly it became plexiglass, and then they wanted to put windows in, and it became a structure.
Any deviation from this plan, we'll review, and if we have to come back to the commission, we will.
Okay, all right, good. Any comments from the audience on this? Nope. All right, so that being the case, can we have a motion?
I would move to accept the proposal for 3 Cove Landing. Did you say negative?
Negative
2?
3.
Negative 3 impact.
We have a
Second that?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you much.
It passes. Thank you very
Aye.
much.
Thanks.
Next, we have a notice of intent for Brian Cox, 9 Atlantic Avenue, map 6B, partial L145, to bring an existing dwelling up to FEMA compliance and make site improvements. This is the hearing that was continued from our last meeting. Is that right, Amy?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any proponent that wants to speak to this?
Absolutely. John Schneibel here, Coastal Inn.
You're cutting in and out.
Yeah, I don't know why.
We'll turn you up.
Okay. Let's try that again. John, is that better?
That's good. Yep.
Okay. John Schneibel, Coastal Engineering, and also Rob Calderaro is on the phone. He's from PSD. He's the landscape architect. We presented the hearing, and I think in the end, the only discussion was what was going from 0 to 50. We had proposed 23 square feet hardscape within 0 to 50. The commission wanted a 3-to-1 mitigation or elimination of the 23 square feet of hardscape. So Rob actually talked with the clients, and they worked out something so that they would eliminate 23 square feet of hardscape. And the removal areas are at the bottom of the steps. We had a 13 square foot stone paver. Going to have remove that. There actually was a 6 square feet of paver that was right in front of the door grill that we missed on our survey. So that, but we picked it, we showed on it, depicted on the plan, and we will eliminate that 6 square feet. And then over by the shower, we had like a continuous pavers going to the shower, and now we've got 2 stepping stones, and that's 4 square feet. So that adds up to 23 square feet. So we've eliminated all of the hardscape within the 0 to 50, and I think that kind of satisfies the commission, and that was the only concern that we had, or you had, about this project.
Okay. Thank you. Amy?
Thank you. Just a couple of things. So I think that eliminates some of the issues by having a net zero in the 0 to 50. You still do have the 210 square feet of additional hardscape and the 100-foot buffer. This is primarily out in front of the house for parking, so not on the water side of the house. You are requesting to use the in lieu fee mechanism as your mitigation for that, and that is to be used really only when there's not an opportunity on the site to improve the environmental values of the site by doing mitigation on site. And I think because, I mean, this is about a 3,000-ish square foot lot, it's highly developed, it's revetted, it has fences that are on either side. There's very little habitat, I think, there. So in this particular instance, the in lieu fee option is the better option to allow us to improve other wetland resource areas in this town. So when calculated out, that is 210 times 2, and then the multiplier of 4 that we have for $1,680. Let's see. That would, so I would recommend approval contingent on that. Just know that one of the conditions would be that this is still pending approval of that in lieu fee language to our bylaw by the Attorney General. It was passed. We anticipate Attorney General time, to turn this back within a month or so. It's usually late July, early August. Should that not come to fruition for some instance, you'll have to come back and discuss other mitigation options if the in lieu fees do not end up working out. Also recommend approval with the condition that no chemicals, including fertilizers, be used on the property. And so the commission knows they still have to go to ZBA as well. So that, in a way, gives a little bit of time to hear about the in lieu fee, our bylaw change from the Attorney General. So with those conditions, I would recommend approval of the project.
Okay, thank you. Mark, you have any comments?
No remarks.
John?
Nothing.
You guys are easy tonight. Brad?
No, just appreciate the modest change at our request. Thank you.
And Jane?
No, I don't have any additional questions, but as Amy mentioned, I think any vote that we take should be, with regard to the mitigation fee should be conditioned upon the approval of that bylaw by the Attorney General's office.
And in the event that it's not approved?
In the event that it's not approved, I would recommend that the applicant come back to us for further discussion.
Okay, all right. Is that agreeable?
Sure. I mean, yeah. Others have approved this, and the Attorney General has granted them the allowance to, get money in lieu of mitigation in certain instances. And like I said, Barnstable, I think, is one of the cases, and Dennis does it too. So, I have confidence that it will be approved by the Attorney General.
Okay, good.
We do too. We just, it's not a done deal yet, so we can't say it's definite.
Yeah. And again, you think another month or so, Amy?
Roughly, they usually come in late July or into August. We'll see.
When were you planning on starting the work?
I don't know, Rob, do you have an answer to that? I would think it'd be after the summer, so people don't hate that. you know?
Yeah, exactly, John. The work is certainly not going to start until at least season has passed. I will add that the area that we're talking about is presently all shell. And we are adding a dry laid cobble area as well as some planting in that area. So, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's a nice addition. And actually, you know, having some planting in that area is certainly going to help.
Okay. So one question with respect to the work that's going on in the back of the property, is it handwork, or are you going to have to get equipment in there?
Back of the property, you talking on the street side,
No, I'm sorry, on the ocean side.
the ocean side?
I would imagine the majority of the work will be hand because we are limited by the access. Really, the only way is through the side gate, and that is to remain. The fence and wall and gates will remain in place. So it will be definitely handwork.
Okay. All right, good. I have,
Excuse me, I just have one comment with regard to the timing for the approval by the Attorney General. My experience from being on the planning board is that usually zoning ordinances submitted by the town of Harwich are generally approved and during the month of August following the town meeting that approved that zoning ordinance.
okay, so that should give us plenty of time.
Yeah, it should, yes.
Yeah, good. And we have the account all set up
Yep,
To
it's ready to go.
to accept it.
Yep.
All right, good.
I guess I have a question then. So that is contingent, so if for some reason the approval hasn't come through, they can't start.
They'll have to come back, yeah. I mean, before they start the work, you'll either have to come back to us or wait for the approval. One or the other is the way I look at.
Yeah, we can let you know when that comes in from the Attorney General. I mean, if it comes in, you don't have to come back to us for anything, so.
All right. Any other comments, questions? All right. Can we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to notice of intent for 9 Atlantic Avenue with the conditions of no fertilization or chemicals on the property and use of our contingency funds in place of on-site mitigation. And this is all contingent upon approval from the Attorney General of granting this policy.
Good, thank you. We have a second?
I'll say.
Thanks. Seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, six ayes and no nays. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a request to amend an order of conditions for 6 and 10 Neal Road, map 9, parcels A7-1 and A7-2. The request is to repair a third groin on the property in conjunction with the previously approved repair of the other 2 groins on the property. Do we have a representative here?
Yeah, through the chair, it's Don Monroe from Coastal Engineering, representing the judges. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can, Don, thank you.
Sure. As with the previous approval, the highlighted area on the shows the major groin that's at the Neal Road area common to the property that we have done some work on already. The 2 groins that were previously approved, those have not been repaired as yet. I think over time, the last winter and with COVID, the whole construction part of it got delayed. And in light of the fact that the existing larger groin is also starting to show more signs of deterioration, that the applicant would like to have the opportunity to make repairs to that this winter when the work on the other 2 groins is going to take place. Land you have. The access is the same. The nourishment hasn't changed. That's approved under the previous. The fence in the middle of the property was installed and the sand was placed there. The timber access walkway was approved under the previous and that's been constructed. The only thing that wasn't done in the previous was the repair to the 2 interior groins. But there's intention to repair those this winter. We have the license for that, but we have to amend the license as well for the larger. And I talked to Brendan up at the state, and he said that they would do their due diligence to get the amendment through to do the repair to the larger so that they all be done at the same time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Amy?
Don, is the existing stone proposed to be reused to the extent that it can be?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And you had asked in your email about the concrete, if there's work done up in that area where there's concrete filling the gaps, that concrete would be broken off and taken off site.
Okay. I don't really have any questions. It's the end of the groin has kind of, the water end of the groin has collapsed and is not functioning as the groin should really function. The top portion, having it by not having the mortar would be a good thing. As the town beach is, directly east of that, the small Neil Road beach area, this groin has impacted that quite a bit over the years. And I just at the on-site today with some of the commissioners, we were curious if there was any opportunity, because that groin is also a lot higher in elevation than the other ones. I mean, is there the opportunity to lower it a little bit so that wind-blown sand could potentially a little bit easier? I mean, it's going to go potentially, in certain events it could go through a little bit better now. But that was, I mean, you're rebuilding in kind, so I am recommending approval for the project, but I just want to see if there is an opportunity to not impact the project so as to harm the judge's property, but to potentially make it a little bit better for a couple of the properties that are immediately east.
Through the chair, I can respond to that.
Please.
Certainly, because of the amount of sand to the west side of that large, the elevation is obviously very high. I don't see a problem with dropping that. If you look at the section J, section KK, we got 4.6 feet of height. We could drop that to 4 feet of height above grade. I think that would help, because if you're referring to some wind-blown sand, also I think if we get southwest wind in this location, it might push sand up and over and around the end. But Amy's also right. If we build it the way we show in our section views, there will be more porosity in between the stones, but they will be locked and interlocked together better than they are now, only because of the methodology that the contractors use today to make sure the stones are interlocked better than they were probably back in the 40s when these were built.
Yeah,
So
I
if
do
you
think
wanna-
dropping it, I mean,
Yeah.
any amount is a benefit, be potentially a benefit and not a hindrance necessarily to the existing, property owner, so.
Yeah, through the chair, I get a representative here. I don't know if you might want to speak to that, Dave. Do you want to make any comment? The question they have is the amount of sand that's being trapped at this particular location is huge. A drop of 6 inches, roughly half a foot of the top stone, would allow some sand to blow over or over top if we get a southwest wind, so that some of that sand would travel in the normal direction, which typically is east to west in this location. But I got to really on that, represent judges. I don't see it's going to adversely affect their beach, because they have a substantial that's the accretion side of the way, so 6 inches isn't going to change the elevation of the beach because it piles up in that corner.
It's actually about 1.5 feet. There's about 1.5 feet relief of rock above the existing sand now. So you would still have rock above sand. It would just be a little
Yep.
bit less. Sorry, David.
Right. I would agree with that. No, that's okay, Amy. Thank you. I would agree with Don that if we were to lower the groin, it would have no effect on that beach whatsoever.
Dave, could you, for the record, could you just introduce yourself and your affiliation?
Yes, I apologize. David Requena. I'm the contractor. And this is Judge.
Thank you. Good.
I'm all set, thank you.
That's reasonable, that 6 inches would make a difference, you think?
Well, so they have an existing lawfully permitted groin structure there. So technically, you know, them being allowed to rebuild it in kind, I think, is a reasonable requiring that they could do is a benefit. I don't know if we can, you know, do much more than that, so.
Comments? Mark?
I have no remarks. In fact, I'm going to abstain from this.
Okay, thank you. John?
No, I haven't.
Stan?
Easy night, no comment.
Bradley?
Don, I just want to confirm the schedule. So the 3 groins would be repaired and the nourishment would occur this winter at the same time?
That is, yes, that's the intent. Pretty sure that's true, isn't it, David? As long as we get the license, and we should be able to, because I talked to David, I talked to Brendan Mullaney up at the state. So we should have our license amended in time to do it this winter. And we have a contractor actually already lined up who was supposed to do it last winter, but because we took so long to get the license due to the COVID situation, we weren't able to actually do it. It's kind of a benefit in the long run, but the contractors agreed to pencil us in for sometime in September/October to start. Late.
We have a September 25th initial project meeting for an October 5th start date.
All right, thanks. And Amy, I guess we can easily roll the additional groin into the monitoring plan?
Yes,
Already
so,
exists?
correct. So this is an amendment, so that monitoring plan language would stay the same. And this would just become really the new plan of record. We would want that minor change, it looks like, Don, to the height. If this gets approved, you know, a couple sets of plans to that effect.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, my only comment is to sort of echo Amy's concern with regard to the height. And I think the more you could lower that, the better off we're all going to be.
The only question I have, the current order of conditions, when is that set to expire, Amy?
Hold on one second. It's only current a year or 2 ago. Permitted in July 2020, so it'd be valid 23.
Okay, all right, so
they
even
have plenty
losing
of
that
time.
year with COVID, you're still for it then, right?
Correct. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Any other comments from members of the audience? Okay. That being said, can we have a
I'll move to approve the request to amend the order of conditions for 6 and 10 Mule Road, map 9, parcels A7-1 and A7-2, with the additional condition that the applicant be requested to lower the top elevation of the jetty in question by a minimum of 0.6 of a foot. Is that what was discussed? Do I have that right? Or a foot?
6 inches.
But 6 is fine, 5/10 is half a foot, but that's okay. We won't be able to get it that close when we're setting the rocks, but we'll definitely get it half a foot lower, for sure.
It's a mathematician coming out of you.
Let's use millimeters.
Are you done?
Denny's good, but not that good.
Is that good? Then I'll
Oh,
second
I haven't seen Denny in forever. Well, I'll look forward to the start work meeting.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
second it.
good guy.
Stan second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstain. 5 in
abstention.
favor, 1 abstention.
0-1. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys have a great night. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, can we go slightly out of order because we have one person on the computer and one person in the audience for items that are here but not next.
Yes.
Well, we get this. Phil, do you mind if we do Holly real first? So the certificate of compliance for Holly Tarleton at 134. Holly is with us remotely. So this was permitted a couple years ago. It was the conversion of a carport to a garage. This is, you have a bordering vegetated wetland nearby. The as-built matches what was proposed on the, so we would recommend approval. They met their conditions.
Any questions from anyone? And can we have a motion? I'm sorry, I should ask, are there any comments you'd like to make?
Holly is on the computer.
Yeah. Ms. Tarleton, would you have any comments, questions?
I'm all set. I just wanted to make sure that I have done everything that I needed to do to get this compliance.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for attending. Can we
Thank
have a
you.
motion? Motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 134th Street.
We'll second.
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. 6 in favor.
Holly will
passes.
call you when it's ready. It'll be a couple days, okay?
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Right, thank you.
So this is Phil Cheney. He's representing Bill McShane, who is on the computer. This is for the first item of discussion and for the Standish Woods violation that we had over the winter. Thank you for bringing in visuals.
Thank you.
So just as a quick reminder, after the violation, so Mr. McShane did come forward and admit to having the work done, which somebody came forward to that. If you want, I mean, Mr. McShane can explain why, but the commission conditioned that the area had to be replanted. As you can see in the photos, a lot of the button bush, which is primarily what was cut, is coming back. So Phil's plan is to augment the planting. But I know Mr. McShane and Phil are happy
Sure.
to answer questions.
Yes, and just the picture that I'm passing, you get sitting out there, that was taken earlier today, and it was like, wow, back gangbusters. Perhaps the fact that they were flush cut to begin with, they're coming back not only quickly, but also in really nice form. So I think they're doing well. I did become a little bit concerned that they're growing so fast that the plan that I gave you there might be a little bit dense.
Okay.
I'm not sure we can squeeze that many in down where I had them in between the plans. I
look at
did
that.
bring in a revised
Okay.
plan with 4 fewer button bush.
Yep.
Basically moving them up a little bit where you see the higher ground is a little bit more barren. I'm keeping some of those up there. So
That'd be great.
I was bringing this as a suggested alternative because I think maybe it's just too much on that first plan that you have.
Thank you.
I think what's growing there is what's growing naturally.
Jim, can I see the photo? Because I haven't seen it in
sure.
a few weeks. No problem. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that upper, the area just up from it is applicable.
So I'm moving some of the ones that I had down below up into there, adding in some of the swamp azaleas that I had as well still. But yeah, some of the ones that I had going down in between the ones that were cut, I think they'd just be choked out, I think, pretty quickly. So I just wise anymore. So I'm hoping that you think this revised plan will be a little bit more appropriate. But we're able to fill in that upper zone a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, and we talked about doing it in the fall.
Yep.
Being the likely time.
And we can,
to do
you know,
that.
you could flag it ahead of time and I can go take a look because, as you said, things are growing in. So if things have to shift a little bit, I think that's
Yeah.
reasonable. Plant things so that they do well.
Right.
And Mr. McShane is aware and has been actually very receptive. We've been out to the property a couple times and has been receptive, you know, understands what was about this.
Yep.
And is totally for replanting this
Yeah,
area.
he's fully willing to you know, again, take responsibility and fix the situation there. And I think this will take care of it pretty well.
Comments, Mark?
I have no remarks.
John?
I don't have anything.
Stan? No. Bradley?
Remind me, do we issue a fine on this one?
I can't remember. We
think-
issued an enforcement order to do a replant. It was to the association.
Right.
And it took a little while to kind of find out who was the person responsible for this, but he came forward. I think there was a minimal fine.
I think there was a fine,
It was either 300 or 600,
yeah.
Yeah,
and that's between Mr. McShane and the association.
right. Do we know if it's been paid?
I believe, yes, it has.
Okay.
That I do know.
Okay.
And I do believe it was Mr. McShane who paid it.
All right, no further questions.
I have no questions.
One question, I guess for you, Amy, is we noted when we were out there that there was more clearing that's taking place
Farther down.
farther
Yep.
down. Yeah.
So that was a different property, not Mr. McShane's. That was done about a year and a half ago, which we knew it wasn't as recent as this.
Yeah.
That person has since passed away, and the heirs are in charge of the property. Melissa has met with the heirs at the property. Things are growing back, and they have been told it wasn't as big of an area, and but we have just been told let it go. Yes, we have had a conversation with the family.
Okay. All right, good. Good. So those are the only areas of concern
Yep.
that
The
we're
rest-
aware of.
Yep.
Good. Wonderful.
Nice to see a good resolution to this.
Yeah. All right, good. Can we then have do we need a motion on this?
You can make a motion to approve the revegetation plan if you wish.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the revegetation plan.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay.
May I have two people's copies of the new?
You want-
I'll stamp them.
Here's the second
The
one.
the
Thank you
new
very
one
much.
that they'll just, 7/21 date. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, and I never thought I'd say this, but it's nice to see everybody's faces in
Yeah.
person.
Yes,
I couldn't resist coming in.
I know. Good to see you.
Oh, they're having,
Yeah.
should just knock on the door sometime.
Could be too.
Walk by with the dog, which hasn't been as much lately because it's been so darn hot. Thanks, Bill. Okay,
Can we go back to the order of conditions then?
yes, we can go back. Jamie, can, else online that we need to talk to? Oh, he's leaving. There he goes. That's Bill McShane. We can go back to regular order, Mr. Chair.
Okay. First item under the order of conditions is for Lee Colton and Nan White for 0 Old Campground Road, map 30, parcels C6, 7, 8, and 9 for the new dwelling. Comments?
I don't have.
The only change I had, Amy, on this, pool water that I can recall. Oh, I had a couple of changes. One was pool water.
I didn't add, I don't have
It's
it in front
in
of me.
there, but it just says it has to be disposed of, it doesn't say off-site. And there's
Oh, I
no
thought it
area on-site that I think they can dispose of.
Yeah, no, I'll change that.
That, and then there's no mention in there about mitigation.
Really?
No, that I saw anyhow.
Maybe I just
Yeah,
called
no.
them,
Special condition 8.
Hang on, let me pull it up.
sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
I mean,
I think 9 covers it, it seems.
but it doesn't, mitigation things, but
Living fence,
talking about 200 shrubs being planted,
Well, that's along the road, I think.
isn't that part of the mitigation?
No.
It's in the old road, so the old road is being planted up. Also, once they finish construction of the house and driveway, they're gonna do some plants along the driveway to let it naturalize back in, and then
Oh, right.
they're just not, I think the whole plan was really to revegetate only the road, and then let as much of the other area stay natural as possible, so that comes in with the living fence. But I can look at the language, living fence, and
Because there's that dirt trail that goes through the whole
that's what I'm
lot.
talking about, yeah.
And
is-
I thought a
I may not
big
have just-
portion of our mitigation was that they were going to
Correct.
plant in that trail.
I may not have called it mitigation.
Oh, I
but
see.
I'll check that.
Okay. So do you want to move on this tonight, or?
If you're comfortable, I know I'll check the language and I'll make sure it's
All right.
correct.
So it was that, and then the only other comment I had was, under number 8, where you say the seeded area shall then be planted with a mixture of low bush, area, yada, yada, yada. But I would say the seeded area along the shoulder, or the shoulder area shall then be planted, because you're also seeding the center strip on that as well, and I don't think
Shoulder
you
and
want to
center
drive over
area.
sweet pepper bush.
Yep. Okay.
It's the only other changes I have. Anybody have anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
The only comment I have is that due to my computer problems, which I hope to have resolved shortly, I have not had the chance to review these.
Oh, I'm
so-
sorry, Jim.
No, that's all right, Amy, don't worry about it. So I'll abstain in the vote.
All right. Okay.
Let me know in the future, and we can one for your packet, okay?
Yeah, that's fine, or you could send them to me by,
Just not Dropbox.
well, I hope to have it resolved
Okay.
shortly. I'm in the process of getting a new
Yeah,
computer.
I forgot.
All right, don't worry about it.
Can we have a motion then on 0 Old Campground Road?
I move that we approve the order of condition for 0 Old Campground Road.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One
And I'm
abstention.
abstaining.
Okay, 5 in favor, one abstains. Next item on the agenda is Peter and Carolyn Chapman, order of condition for 265 Bay Road, map 99, parcel B, removal of invasive, non-native vegetation and planting. Comments?
No comments?
I would move to accept the order of conditions for 265 Bay Road.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm abstaining.
One abstention. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is order of condition for 5 C Street, map 7, parcel D22 for a new dwelling. And there was a annotated copy in our,
Yeah,
in
and the
the
people who were
Dropbox.
not at the site visits today, I printed off ones for you as well and put them in front of you. So mine combined with council's edits here. If there's anything you want to add, take out, clarify, now would be the time to do so. I looked through council's suggestions, I do agree with them.
Is it a different council than Amy? No? Okay.
Well, Alex Whiteside helped
Yeah, okay.
He's one of the other land use attorneys that I've worked with on occasion there. He proofed it as well. He was involved in it many years ago,
Oh, wow,
so.
okay.
I have one little edit, which
Yep.
is under the denial under Harwich Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations, item 2, the second sentence in the last paragraph.
Hold on, you said under the bylaw and regulations, okay.
Item number 2,
Item number 2, yep,
last paragraph, sentence, the word
it is. Got it.
Amy, I had a couple of comments. First, we referenced this, an entity that's identified as C.
Yeah.
Is that the same as environmental consulting and restoration? Because it mentions Stan Humphrey working for both.
I think he used to work for, I think it's the same person, different company. LEC Environmental is one. And then, that was at the time. So where are you looking at that? Because it depends on where.
Well, it's in item 18.
All right, let me look, because depending on timing. I could say in, delineation, what's the, that was, in 2012, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But he revised it, so I could say completed by LEC in 2012, later reviewed by same individual of such and such company.
And is there a full name to the company rather than just LEC?
No,
You mentioned LEC Environmental Consulting?
maybe I can look, okay, whole name.
Whatever it is, yeah. And then on number 18, and this is a nit, I guess, it says this delineation was completed by LEC, and I just changed that around to the delineation by LEC was completed, by reviewing the surficial
Yep,
geology
I
map.
like that better.
And then the last sentence in number 19. I said, it says DEP overturned the decision with a superseding order. Did they actually overturn the decision, or did they effectively overturn it by issuing that order?
They overturned it, not effective.
Specifically?
They overturned it.
Okay, all right. And then 24 is the language that the attorneys have added. And I would just change that slightly, where it says the owner of the property also owned a lot, and I would say directly across from 5 C Street.
It's actually not directly, and that's why I changed it. It is diagonal. It is not the one directly across. It is the one, if you're looking at the houses across the street, it's
Yeah.
the one slightly to the right. It's not the one directly across.
Oh, because
I know, I thought.
when you looked on that plot plan that they gave us,
Checked it.
that showed the
I
lots.
checked the owners. I checked the history of the owners going back as far as I could.
Okay,
Actually, the one diagonal.
all right. And then at the end of that page, where you list the 5 elements of 310 CMR 1028,
Yep.
you don't have any reason or determination under all the other 4 you do.
Oh, let me check that. C, question mark. It said dune form. See,
Cause any modification of the dune form, but
that's exactly how 310 CMR reads, so I copied and
okay, so there's
pasted.
no sub-comment
There
like
is
the
no
other ones have.
sub-comment, no.
All right,
So later on, so in 310 CMR 10.281, that just spells out the dune volume, dune form, vegetative cover.
Yeah.
Then under 310 CMR 10.283, the next portion, it says B, what dune volume, I mean, it goes into the other, more the in-depth reasons.
Okay, all right. And then the last, I think it's the last one, last comment I have is under E,
Yep.
where you say, wind scour would thus change the form of the dune artificially. And I thought it might be helpful to add to that, wind scour attributable to the lack of vegetation
Oh, I like that.
would thus change the form of the dune artificially. Those are the only other, those are add-on. Any other comments?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
So I sent you an email, Amy, under 19, the sentence concludes, DP overturns decision with a superseding order. I've always been astounded that DP superseded this. It just surprised me.
They originally didn't. They originally agreed with us, and then when they went next level, that's when it got to the judge, it got overturned.
Right, so I wonder, do we want to add something to that to express our feeling that DP's investigation was incorrect? Or
I
is-
don't think so,
or
because
that
this is
too-
just, it's factual. It
Yeah.
has to be, you have to, like, this is what happened, boom, boom, boom.
Right,
Um,
we all feel that DP's decision on the delineation was incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the rest, the other parts of the document say that,
Yep.
that the dune actually goes closer to the street, so.
Right. Okay, and I know that our council.
We'll get into that when we get into the, because this will be appealed.
Yes,
So, we can get into that during the appeal of
right.
council and I can get into that, why that happened, why we don't believe it. But I think for the purpose of the document, it's okay
Yeah.
as it is.
Yep, and they know how it needs to be, so. And then my other comment was just on the very last page, under 5, denial of request for a variance. In the second paragraph, I thought of maybe adding, the property can still be of value to the abutter or existing owner for parking, picnicking, and beach access.
Beach access or potentially other uses.
Yeah.
Let's not,
Sure.
council added that, let's not limit it to parking and picnicking.
Yeah,
Parking, picnicking, beach access, or still other unvetted uses.
yep, that's good. That's it for me.
They didn't do an alternatives analysis, really.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly seems to me like that opens the door for quite a debate. Sounds to me like that would give them the opportunity, give anybody the opportunity to challenge the usage and really question the motivation of the decision. To me, that seems like it's a very, very cumbersome statement. I would find that concerning.
Well, they're saying that what we're doing is in effect a taking. That's really their whole argument. And so, by suggesting that there's still some value to the property, I don't know how that would really be counter to what we're trying to do.
I think instead of saying can still be, I think we should put may still be. It hasn't been determined if any other activity is, at all, is appropriate here, so.
That's what I'm getting at, is
I think it could be a simple word change to not
Perhaps.
bind us.
to,
So that the property may still be of value to an abutter or the existing owner for and it doesn't even have to be an abutter or an owner, it could be just anybody, for beach access or other potential unvetted uses.
I'm not even sure I'd be that specific.
Okay,
My concern is that by suggesting any particular activity,
Oh, okay.
you open the door to a preconceived notion.
do we just want to say
Yeah. Mr.
for other
Chair,
uses, not the examples?
I would have it said, I think council added that in order to try to counter their argument that this is a regulatory taking, and therefore the town owes them the full appraised value of the property. If we limit that at this point, we are basically helping to make that argument for them.
Or would you
Because
suggest
I would suggest that we leave,
leaving?
I mean, I have no objection to changing the word can to may.
Yeah.
that would be an issue. But we've got to admit that there's at least
Okay.
a potential, or we're going right into the argument that
Alright.
it's a regulatory taking.
Do we want to bring up the fact that although they claimed that the owner, who's passed away, intended to build on the lot, and they provided no evidence to that?
My comment
I'm
would be that
trying to
that would
lawyer.
not really have any bearing on the potential litigation. And I think the way our, both Amy and then the revisions by the town's council, we're sort of looking at the fact that from our discussion 2 weeks ago, it seems like they will probably appeal this decision, and it may end up in federal court
Yeah, as a taking.
as a regulatory taking.
Yeah.
Why federal?
Because I think that's where regulatory takings are.
They bumped it, so there's a precedent with the Falmouth case that it actually turned out in our favor, a very similar case.
Right.
They bumped it immediately to federal court, not Superior.
Okay.
Well, Superior under the bylaw, but federal taking claim.
So what do we do with this section then?
I mean, my recommendation would be to basically leave it the way it is. We can make the change that Amy suggested from can to may. But other than that, I would recommend that we leave it the way it is.
Well, wait, hold on, you're saying to just leave it, to recognize just parking and picnicking? Just leave it at
Beach
that?
access, we could add that.
Okay, no, we can add beach access there,
And
we can add
Other
anything.
unvetted
Yeah,
uses, but
right, that, I think
Ernie's
would be fine.
suggestion of that there was very many statements made at the meetings that this lot was always intended to be developed, but from the time this lot was purchased in the 50s to now, to 2011, there was no effort made. We could say in the findings of fact, there were several statements made at the meeting that the owners, that the Allen family intended to build on this lot. However, from the time it was purchased in 19 whatever till 2011, no attempt was made. We can just leave it at that. We don't have to.
Right. I think
Do
that's.
you want me to put that in, or what do you suggest, Jim?
I suggest that we don't put that in. If indeed they take that or, in litigation,
Yeah.
we can always counter with
True, doesn't have to
what
be
you
now.
said. We don't have to do that now.
Okay.
So I think we don't have to assume that they're going to make that argument, if this ends up in
Yeah.
court.
I agree, actually, thinking about that. This is just the document that gets it all started.
Right.
There is going to be executive sessions, I'm sure, on this. We're going to have options for rebuttals and all that stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the next step is they will appeal this.
They're going to appeal, under Act and bylaw, they will appeal,
Right.
likely.
So
I think highly likely.
I just have one about the uses,
Mm-hmm.
which is parking. Parking seems like the wrong thing to be in that list. I mean, if someone came before us with a proposal to make parking space in a dune, what would we do with that?
Yeah.
I don't think that's like hardscape in a dune.
That's my point.
Yeah, I
That's
think-
why I'm saying may and not can. I don't think we should
Why
limit it.
not say beach access or other recreational uses? I mean, it should,
Including but
I
not
can see the
limited to
parking
beach
thing coming.
access and other recreational uses.
Well, because again, we said that the dune is right up to the road, so where's the parking gonna be?
Okay.
But we're not at this point proposals in front of us. At this point in time, what we're trying to do in this discussion is to just point out that there are other potentials.
Why don't we just say that? So
There
for
are
other
other-
uses, so why don't we
There are
take
other
out
potential uses,
parking and picnicking can still,
all of the other things
for other uses?
Yeah.
for other uses, because clearly any other use is going to have to come back in front of us. But we don't want to get into the situation where we're determining what uses are possible before we're even presented with plans.
And that was my point, exactly.
Yeah, I think that,
Okay, so I
All right.
think if you generalize it like that, then that's
Yep.
probably better, Amy.
so to say, the property may still be of value to an abutter or the existing owner, or maybe still be of value, not even to a butter or existing owner,
Yeah,
for other uses.
for other uses, period.
Yeah.
And just,
And butters would include people across the street.
I'm gonna take out abutters and owners. It could be of value to anybody,
Yeah.
yeah,
potentially.
because they could,
It'd be a tax write-off, you know?
they could sell the property to somebody who lives back on Route 28 as a private beach,
Yeah.
Right, they could walk down there.
and they could walk down there. So I think that's probably the right way to
All right.
Make
go.
an association.
Vague, yeah, we can make it a
Private
little
beach,
vague.
yeah. Okay,
That's good.
good. So
Yeah, you do need to vote on this.
with those changes,
Just, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Amy, if that's possible. Can I vote on this?
I would say because we already voted on the project and you abstained, I mean, I think legally you can, but why don't, because you abstained on the project, I suggest you would abstain on this, even though this is just the language. We have a quorum of members, so.
I agree with you, but I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, I
Just
think
see what your
legally,
opinion was.
yes, you can vote on the order. You couldn't on the project, but you can on the order, it's weird. But,
Okay.
and we would put, when they asked why, abstention, wasn't present for the hearings.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
okay. Are we done with the discussion on this then? Can we have a motion?
I'll move to approve, as amended according to the discussion we just had, the denial of the project at 5C Street.
Can we have a second?
Second?
Second by Brad, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
One extension.
Very good.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting to see where that goes.
I think we'll be hearing about it for a while.
Hopefully not another 10 years. It's been 10 years. It'll be 10 years this coming November. It was one of my first things I started with 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah,
Brad remembers.
I was,
He was here for 2 years prior to me.
yeah. It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's still going.
Next one on the agenda is certificate of compliance for 35 Pine Knoll Road.
Yep. So this was a new dwelling on Pond. Pine Knoll is off of Bank Street. And in visiting this property to talk about access actually for the restoration potentially of Grassy Pond, I was looking into the record of the property and I said, oh, this is expired. So I notified the owner and said that they should ask for a certificate of compliance. We did an inspection. The as-built matches the proposal. The property's pretty well naturally vegetated. They don't even, they have a view, but it's spotty. It was a beautiful project. We would recommend approval of the cert of compliance.
Any questions? Can we have a motion? We approve the certificate of compliance for 35 Pine Knoll Road, map 31, parcel P 13 and 14.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good, thank you.
All right.
Last item, under discussion and possible vote,
Yep.
is removal of an unpermitted fence at 19 Laquasit Road. Amy?
So I will let you know that I did alert Mr. Stevens to the fact, and let him know they were welcome to attend. They said they did have another meeting this evening that they could not. So it is up to the commission if you want to take action tonight or at a different time. Action tonight on this. It was very clear from an enforcement order and from meetings that the fence was to be removed by July 1st. Mr. Stevens requested that at a public meeting themselves to keep it until July 7th. The commission said no. And again, the enforcement order said no. The fence came out fully on July 16th. So I would recommend, it was very clear from the commission, and this fence was in violation, so I would recommend a daily fine for those 15 days. Not counting July 1, because it said, July 1 they could have done it, but they didn't.
You stated that the fence came out fully. But the last time I was near that property, it appears that they still have a probably 15-foot section on running down each of the sidelines on the north and south
You mentioned that, and
side.
I'm sorry, I did not have a chance to go look.
And they also have a gate, the gate section of the leads out onto the walkway to their pier is still there as well.
Took a picture the other day, hold on, let me look, from over across the way.
If I remember, the shed that to install was in the 50 as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So those sideline
sheds-
fences,
Yeah, okay, the side fences were not there when I last saw.
Oh,
So,
really?
How
Okay.
about I propose this, because I can't tell, honestly, based on the photos that I have. You could table this to the next meeting if you wanted to. We know definitively that the fence wasn't out until July 16th, or at least, not all of it. So you could start by doing those if you want, and then we can look the next day or two and look at the remainder. So it's up to you if you want to table this for now for me to look at it again. I don't necessarily see the harm in that. Because it's either going to be something for 15 days or something for longer than that. It could be an ongoing. So it's up to you if you wanted to vote to issue something now for at least what we know, and then wanted to follow up at the next meeting, or if you just want the next meeting.
yeah. Those side fences might be the neighbors, but I don't think so, because there
will
was only
double
one
check.
fence. There was
Yeah.
one continual fence.
I can check.
Whereabouts you see the side fences?
What is this? Is it this part? Oh, no, it's over here. It's down here.
Here we go.
Yeah, there it is. So sorry, we're looking at Google Maps here. Side fences come down each side,
Right.
here and here. And then there's a gate across.
So I wonder if they were permitted.
I don't see the arch over the dock on my photo that I took on this 15th, but that's okay. We will oh, I see the side fences, yeah. Okay. Yep.
I don't object to a gate on a dock entrance as a safety issue, but it still has to be approved, right?
Well, especially under the circumstances,
Yeah.
I should have brought it up.
It's a new structure, basically.
Yeah, but it.
That could have been, hopefully a variance because of safety reasons, but yeah.
Within the footprint of the walkway, I don't see a problem with that. Maybe we should, while it's fresh in our minds, still discuss how people feel about it, because it's a big fine. We've had a lot of issues at this site. I don't know what's that exactly out there.
We can go out there in the next day or two to look. I can also contact Mr. Stevens and ask to go on the property, but we can see the property from the public way as well.
I think a fine is in order. I don't know if 15 times 300.
45.
45. Yeah, maybe just hear from everybody how they feel about it. Curious.
I don't think there's a harm in waiting to see what's actually out there, to see if it's still.
That would be my feeling, is that I think maybe we need to clarify the details totally before we delve too deeply into this,
Yeah.
because I think there's some speculation on our part right now, and I'm not sure that's prudent.
So, but the only thing that these sizes would do would be to make matters worse and make the violation more provocative, I guess is the way I would put it. So personally, I don't suppose it's a particular mystery, but I would support the steep fine. I don't know how finding that they put in new fences. I mean, the thing about that property is even requiring them to remove the newly installed plastic picket fence or whatever it was, that was installed landward by a foot or so of an existing wire fence.
Yeah.
And they're still gonna be containing their dogs, which seems to be their
Yeah.
their primary concern there, because they still have a wire fence up there, and I just,
It wasn't contiguous in the past, and it seems to be now, that wire fence. Anyway,
You mean
So-
unbroken?
yeah, so there was parts that weren't fenced and parts that were with wire.
So you're suggesting that they've added to the wire fence as well?
I don't know,
I wonder if
because
they-
I don't have so I'm going back from previous several years ago with this and seeing what I saw on site. And actually, it says on the plan, I believe, don't quote me on it, I have to go and check, but, existing wire fence, but it doesn't, it's not like, it's shown not to be contiguous.
Well, the other
There were
issue,
gaps, there were sections that weren't.
the other issue that has been brought to light very much is the pool, and there needs to be some protection around that. The current building code has provisions for pool cover, but at the time that
Correct.
pool was built, it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So there had to be considerations for pool security at that point. So I think we need to dig a little deeper into this before we get too rash.
Is that our purview, or is that building department's?
I'm sorry?
Is that our responsibility or the building department's?
Well, I guess my point, Ernie, is the pool had to be approved by Conscom at the time. I can't believe that a fence wasn't part of the
It was
topic
not,
at the time.
it was not.
Do you know how long ago that was?
I don't have the file with me. 5 years ago, maybe?
it was,
Because see, if it was 5 years ago, it was,
Yeah. Not based on this conversation, but I mean, the pool fence compliant with building code doesn't need to encompass your entire backyard.
I agree. I'm just saying, this is,
Right, I can double check the record, so we can be prepared for that.
because I'm certain it's going to be a question.
Yep.
In terms of the fence that was just removed, though?
I don't think that was compliant either, it was too
No.
low.
I was
No,
gonna
that was-
say, because that certainly wasn't compliant from a
It
pool
wasn't.
standpoint.
There isn't any part of that fence that was pool compliant anywhere.
Huh.
So the question would be, why would they have a pool without any kind of fencing for
And he may
5
have the
years?
cover
That's-
now,
that's
we don't
another
know
story,
that.
but-
He may have the cover. We don't know.
Right, but the current building code regulations and what they were 5 years ago are different.
Yeah.
And at the time, the cover had no bearing on security versus fence. And it's up to the towns individually to determine whether they want a fence or not. So that's the current standard. But at the time, it's part of the deal.
Well, it sounds like it's our responsibility. If he was claiming that that was a pool fence, it would seem it's our.
Originally it did, but.
Yeah, well, it'd be our responsibility to notify the building department that we had him remove the pool fence, so that they can go out and make sure that they has some other safeguard in place, be it a cover or something else.
Assuming the automatic pool cover works, that would be an appropriate course of action to make them aware,
Yeah.
because that needs to be
I
part of
do
the
know property
conversation.
was inspected several times over the past month by the building department.
but it's not a compliant pool fence, I thought it was just.
Right, so whether the fence was there or not, it wasn't a compliant fence, what was built.
yeah, we never accepted it, that was a pool fence.
But the building department shouldn't have either, right, because it's not
I
compliant.
can look at the building permit for when the building permit was issued for the pool, what was on there. I'm happy, that's
And
an
I don't
easy
re-
thing for me to
I
do.
don't recall him stating that it was security for the pool, it was for his dogs.
Well, the story changed, like everything else that he did.
The
Yes.
application said pool fence,
Oh,
it
did it?
came to light that it really wasn't.
Yeah. So, sounds like we want to table this for next month?
It doesn't hurt you to hold it till the next meeting. It would give him the opportunity to come and, but it would also give me an opportunity, or Melissa, to go and take a closer look out there. You're not, the timeline's still ticking, so you're not at risk of time.
And that's what I was wondering about.
And personally, I'd like to clarify and do it, you'd have the whole picture.
Yeah, I'd
all
rather
at
not
once,
do like
rather
one
than
piece and then
piecemeal.
another.
Yeah.
That would be my,
I wonder if he took some of those pieces and put them on the side.
And it could have been
It went
after-
all the way
who knows?
around initially.
Yeah, I went all the way around.
It looks like he just, sort of measured across the new patio, or the old patio that he had, and sort of cut it off at each side of that.
All right, we'll address it. We'll look into it, and we'll report. We'll have it on the next agenda.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
You don't have to take any action if you don't want to, unless somebody really wants to do something tonight.
As long as we don't get into expiring
No,
ability to find.
I don't think
Because
we
I
will.
wonder if he kept the side fence and put up additional wire fencing to contain the dogs too. That's something to look at. I think we need to be on site to, or at least get it close enough.
I'll ask to go, and I'll take Melissa with me.
Okay, good. So we don't need to vote on that?
You do not. I'll
Nothing
put it
we need there.
on next agenda, which is gonna be August 4th.
Alrighty. Two items, the April 7th, 2021 executive session
we can't really.
draft.
And I'm sorry, I don't have a paper copy of that in front of me, so if there are edits, if somebody could write them, if you have, or make them on your computer and send them to me, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I had just a general question, and Jim, you might be able to chime in on this. Really sort of laid our soul bare, I think, in this discussion here, as far as the conversation.
Can't discuss it here, by
Right.
the way,
I
so.
was gonna say, because
What we went into a lot of detail in
That's-
here.
Yes, okay,
That's what I meant to say.
yeah,
That I'm surprised by.
yeah.
Would you generally run this by council before we approve it?
No.
No.
If you want me to, I can.
I think given the circumstances, it would be prudent. Jim, you don't have this then, right?
No, I mean, I wasn't here for that meeting.
Well, I don't know.
This is for the executive session?
For April 7th.
Yeah, I mean,
It was in Dropbox, so get it. don't
no,
think.
I didn't get it, so I didn't review it. But let's put it this way, it wouldn't hurt to run it by town council?
Yeah, I mean, we already have permission to use council for this case, so
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay,
no,
I'll run it by council and put it on next agenda.
okay, good, thank you. And the last item on the agenda is the minutes from the November 18th, 2020 meeting. My first question for you on this is, where are we with Mr. Saffron?
Mr. Saffron's permit, well, now with the governor added another extension on to permits, but it was set
We
to
did?
expire in September. It is set to expire in September.
Have we talked to him and gotten any inclination of, any idea where he is?
Nope, he is, I probably should, I'm sorry.
So that means we don't have a site plan as was requested at that
Yeah,
meeting?
and he hasn't done any work, but he hasn't, the work to, his new request to amend for the brick patio and walls and stuff like that, but there was a new request, and he hasn't done that site plan. He's done the plantings.
Have you been by there and looked? I went by there and I didn't stop and look, but I went by there
Yeah.
recently and there seemed to be a lot of gardening going on down. And I have no idea how that relates to the wetlands or anything.
On the pond side of the
Yeah, it's
driveway?
on the
Yeah.
pond side. I know what you're talking about, pond side of the driveway, the right as you pull in.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
there's like low timber
Maybe it's, maybe,
walls, but, and it was grass
Maybe it's
before.
not a problem,
Yeah,
but-
but still,
We've generally criticized people gardening in the 50.
right,
He had some stuff there already.
yeah.
yeah,
Hard to say. What a tough one that's been.
We can circle back with Mr. Saffron and
yeah, all right.
just an update for Mr. Saffron.
Then on the next.
Well, wait, if I'm going back reading this, this was a request to amend his order of
Right.
conditions, which hasn't been done at this point.
We haven't amended, right, it has,
What I'm saying, because it
Because we
says
asked
we
him to do a
can't do
site
it
plan.
without this information.
correct, and he has not come back with,
It's
Right.
yeah, another couple months, 2 months.
well, like I said, with the new extension, I forget how long, another 200-something days the
Oh,
governor
right.
gave. But that's under the act, that's not necessarily under the bylaw of the town. I don't know if the town's adopted that, but
6 months or so then,
Yeah.
right?
it's a good point. I really should get on him.
Okay. It's a lot on your plate, I know.
It's one that just doesn't go away.
Then I had a comment on the first paragraph, second page, down toward the end. The sentence starts, Betsy Bragg gave a statement explaining that when she purchased the property, there was an existing permit, and I say from conservation for the construction of a dwelling.
Can you just make that notation and give
Oh,
me a
yes, I
copy
did.
if
I'll
you
give you
don't mind?
this. I'll
That'd be
give you this
great.
when I'm
Thank you.
done.
Sorry, I don't have it. In the future, I will.
Okay, and then I had another one in the bold at the end of that paragraph, the first sentence, the end of it, it says conservation restriction on the entire property, area out of property. It just says on entire area of property, right, so I added the word the.
Mm-hmm.
40 North Road.
It's gonna be here on August 4th for you. I've spoken with Mr. Smith.
Because the last time I drove by there, the fence is back.
The fence is there, the shower head is still up. He's arguing, the walls aren't there. And I said, well, we really care about the water that's getting in right to there. And beforehand, the posts of the bulkhead, like the bulkhead was landward, and then, the pilings. And now there's decking that extends outside of the pilings to the,
Yeah,
Cantilever right over it.
yes.
yeah, he's just going crazy on that property.
He recently installed his utilities, so I got neighbors, so I went out there and I called him, I said, utility work and your septic work's all well and good, but let's come in front of conservation for some of your outstanding issues where it was into you that you had to remove such and such things, and you have not, and his response was, well, I wanted them, and I said, well, you were, I kid you not, I will go on record for that. So that's what his response was. So, I said, I think it is a good idea for you to come to the August 4th Concom meeting.
I'm starting to view this very similar to the situation on Laquasit, where we've given him directions,
Yeah.
clear directions,
Yeah.
on what he needs to do, and he appears to be ignoring those because he wants them. So, perhaps some discussion of a fine is in order at this
Yep.
point.
Well, I think we'll get all of our facts together before the next meeting. It only came to light at the end of last week. I didn't want to it on this, so. All right.
Any other comments you want me to take down on these?
I'm good with those minutes.
So I'll move to approve the minutes from the Wednesday, November 18th, 2020 meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm abstaining.
And one abstention.
You can give Mark the second, he's kind of,
Pass it on, Danny.
Thank you. I'm gonna pass these around, so I don't have, we have a slightly busier agenda next time than we did this time. So I don't really have any updates for you. Oh, one thing I do have. Laquasit is putting on with the APCC and the Cape Cod Commission, the Shape the Cape Summit, and it's wonderful. Its focus this year is on environment and housing. So one day will be environment, one day will be the housing crisis. We don't know what date's what yet, but if you go to the Cape Cod Commission website, they might have more detail up. But I will send you the invite when I get it. But it's gonna be August 23rd and 24th. It's a Monday and Tuesday at the Laquasit, and they've done a wonderful job. I know not everybody can make it, but usually they make presentations available online afterwards, but it's a good event. So that's upcoming. I don't have anything else, I don't think. Oh, I would like to publicly recognize our AmeriCorps member, Caroline. Caroline's last day with us is tomorrow. They've completed their 10 months of service with us, helped us a lot with property monitoring and maintenance, helped a lot with the shorebird monitoring this year. They created a little new native wildflower garden at Thompson's Field, right as you pull in off the Chatham roadside, where it actually says Sarah Woodland Wildlife Meadow, but it was just all invasive, so she organized that with DPW to restore that, and it's coming in quite nicely. So yeah, they're going to grad school this fall,
Good, wonderful, great.
looking into sustainable agriculture.
Nice.
I want to take the, I sort of was remiss at our last meeting to thank Brad for the time he's put in as chair of this commission. 5 years? 6 years?
No, one term.
Only 3 years?
You didn't take over Walters? No?
Partial, so maybe
Yeah,
4.
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't 2 terms.
And 12 years in total
Yeah, 12 years
on the
overall.
commission. That's remarkable. And I think just appreciate immensely the contributions that you've made to this and
Thanks, Ernie,
the time you
appreciate it.
put in and everything else. It's been terrific.
Yeah, well, thank you all, everybody.
Left big shoes to fill.
Well,
This point.
it's gonna happen, you know. Thanks, Ernie.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed everybody here, and Amy especially.
Thank you. Likewise.
Quick question on, just looking ahead on the potential for the reg changes for the fall town meeting. Is there anything to do to keep that in focus?
I put the question forward, and from what I understand, there are very specific items that are being on that agenda, and that's it.
Yep.
So we are likely looking towards spring.
Spring. That's a shame, because
I can look, but I have asked a couple times.
Yeah.
Now, and try. I mean, I'll,
Yep.
when,
These
that
are-
meeting is gonna be in October.
These
First
are the same items we tried to get on the last
Right.
agenda.
bylaw changes to water-dependent structures and wetlands
Yeah.
bylaw, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the arguments given was that, you know, it was such a huge agenda that let's put it off to the fall.
Yeah.
And so that was that. So yeah, it'd be disappointing if it got kicked down the road further.
Well, I'll ask, I've just been asking if we can. I could formally submit it and see what they do with it.
Yeah.
Again.
Maybe bounce it off of Larry, see what he thinks.
Yeah.
As our liaison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the downside to formally submitting it?
Right.
I mean, if we didn't get on last time, I'd say we should
I guess, so
submit it
what we
every
should do then,
meeting
so
and-
one of the issues the selectmen had is they said we didn't technically have a meeting with them prior to that, so we can do that and try to get on an end of August or early September
Yeah.
meeting with them. That was one of the issues that they had with putting us on, was they said we didn't do public outreach. We said, well, we did all the public meetings and we had a bunch of them, but we didn't specifically go to them, so
Okay.
we can do that.
There's a PowerPoint ready to go for at least the water-dependent reg changes.
Yeah.
Maybe add on some of the other ones to that PowerPoint and
Okay.
show up with that.
Good, all right.
So, I'd hate to have it just fade from view and, fail. It came so close.
Yeah.
Okay. Just make myself a note. If I don't write it, I don't do it.
It was a 2-2 vote by the board to not,
Yeah, it was really close.
yeah. And so,
All right.
Issues? Questions?
Any developments with the Main Street bog?
I reached out to Leo because I asked him if he wanted to be on in July. And I said, we'd be looking for updates because you had said you've been working with the tech and if you have anything from them. So he asked to come back probably in August, late August or September. He wasn't, he said he has been working with the tech.
Good.
There, from what he told me, what's first happen is they have to become an agricultural school. That application is due in October. So once they get accepted to be an Aggie, they can then develop curriculum. But and one of the things they have to have is a parcel of land to do this on, which would potentially be the Main Street bogs. So that's what I know right now. I'll follow up with Leo to see if he does want to come back at the end of August or September and talk to us. But I did offered for him to come to this meeting.
That was a one-year extension. I don't remember the dates.
So it would expire in November of 2022. Because it was set to expire in November 2021. It was a one-year extension,
Okay, so they've still got, at this point,
a little over a year.
15 months, more or less, right? Give or
Yep.
take a little.
Yep. That's where we're at. So we'll follow up with Leo.
Good.
He did tell me, he's like, keep after me about it. I said, okay, well.
Good. Mark Kelleher's proposal, did that pass the selectmen?
I don't know. I didn't feel like I was, I'll find out.
It was a week ago Monday.
Yeah.
He appealed to Ernie and I to attend, and I think we both felt the same, that, the commission made its
Recall,
ruling
Jamie?
on it, and that's really all we could do.
She was
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Mark Kelleher's proposal for aquaculture year-round in Nantucket Sound. Do you remember if the selectmen passed it?
They did not take a vote on it.
They didn't vote on it.
We are bringing it back, I think, to the waterways.
Okay.
Again.
Actually.
Thank you.
Yep, it was in the Chronicle, and I think what the quote I heard was, or read, was that the Board of Selectmen want to rule in a way that was counter to their departments or their boards.
Okay,
So at that point,
that's good.
they would want to hear Waterways or the harbor master say that it's okay.
Yeah.
And the last question I have is Lothrop, where are we with that?
When was Amy was here last meeting. So she was going, I haven't seen it, draft something to Paul Revere, Jeff King about, we can't talk much about it, but I remember we gave him a certain amount of time to respond.
Yeah, okay.
And so I'll ask Amy if that has been sent out.
All right, thank you.
One more thing. The violations on Flax Pond with Barber, this is going back a while.
Yes.
Is that resolved?
It's not, and it's, Mark Burgess keeps saying that it's his fault, he hasn't jumped on it. I said, we need to jump on it. I mean, it's revegetated itself, honestly, to this point, but
Yeah, I would expect. It's been quite a while.
I know. All right, that one, and there's one on Herring River.
Power line?
Yeah, right next to the bog, actually.
Yeah.
Just the opposite of the power line from the Main Street bogs.
Where's the location on it?
That's it's south of 28, but it's north, it's a few, only pretty south of 28.
Yep.
It was land more so than water. I mean, there was some new decking on the docks, Dan found it, and then that was the one where they did some clearing.
Right.
They had an approved plan, they put some plants in, but the stuff on the sides of the house hasn't been done yet.
West side?
West side.
Yep. The big invasive plant one? There was one that had,
No, it was basically the one that they said the previous owners were, it was like it used as a dumping ground, so that they excavated a lot of things out just to clean it up, but they did a little more than just that.
yeah.
That's Mark's project too.
The one that had the invasive plant work done, it has the boathouse right there, right on the big boathouse.
Yeah.
It's interesting, I shellfish around there, I shellfish all over there, but there's tremendous seeding of oysters within, right next to there. It must have been Heinz mitigating for one of the projects.
Yeah, he probably did. That's not a bad spot.
It was quite a bonanza to come across.
I have to, they
Really?
reached out to me because they're having a hard time with the way the river's changing, getting the marsh to regrow. They were gonna do a small amount of marsh pillows out there, and the velocity's so high, they're time getting it to establish.
Yeah.
So I said, I told them I'd meet them out there anytime. I haven't heard back.
Yeah, I think some future commission is gonna have a hands full with that area and the rising sea level. There's just so much scouring occurring now that.
Yeah, at a very tight bend.
Right, so it's gonna be really interesting, 10 years down the road. It's just not gonna stop. And property owners are gonna wanna do something about it. So, stick around, folks.
More to come.
Right.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wow.